I'm not sure I've seen a mess quite like what is going on right now at Brown University. My goodness, if you have kids in college, whether it's at KU, at K-State, at Mizzou, I mean, it doesn't matter how big or how small that university is in the Kansas City area or just the region by and large, I'd be calling up and I'd be asking, hey, what is your plan? Because if an Ivy League institution is as incompetent as Brown has been, if the local officials in Providence, Rhode Island are as incompetent as they have been in the wake of this shooting over the weekend that left 2 people dead and up to 9 people injured at this point, well, what's that say for the rest of these towns? And Providence is not like some small college town. It's not Columbia. It's not Lawrence. It's not Manhattan. It's a pretty major city along the East Coast. And they have been way, way in over their heads in the wake of this tragedy over the weekend. And yesterday, it just got worse. 6:05, good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio. So these officials are not being honest with the people. You have had now several media outlets quoting students and other witnesses saying that the shooter, who is not in custody, they had somebody in custody. They released him. They're still looking for a shooter. But there are several media outlets who have reported that the shooter yelled Allahu Akbar before opening up fire in the building. Of course, that means God is most great. It is used by Muslims in prayer, as many of us know. And now you've got local officials being asked about this. Hey, did this guy yell something? What can you share? And take a listen to how uninterested they are in answering this question.
The report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Could you tell us what that was?
Yes, part of the investigation, Johnny Muktia.
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
So that's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute. With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful for us to identify somebody, we'll be the first ones to put it out.
Alex, follow up on John's question. Did the suspect yell, like has been reported, and there's been some erroneous reporting, but did he yell when he came to the classroom? And how valuable have witness statements been?
I'm just going to stop that real fast right there. That is, to take you behind the scenes of media, that is what they call a double-barreled question. You ask 2 questions at once, and then what happens is the person you are asking the question of is allowed to basically answer the question they want answered. So it's a double-barreled question. The first part of the question is a good question. Basically, once again, this reporter says, what was yelled in the hallways in the classroom of Brown University? Can you answer that? And then he goes on to say, and how valuable have witnesses been? Well, which one do you think the police chief is going to answer in Providence, Rhode Island, in the wake of this Brown tragedy? Obviously, he's going to pick the second one.
Those who survived.
Listen, my heart goes out to the victims. It goes out to the families. And I'll tell you that their cooperation has been extremely helpful. And that, with that being said, we'll continue, and I'm going to respect the fact that, and I hope that they get better, and my heart and soul goes out to them. So,
did he yell though?
so that's something that we're investigating. We took statements, and we have to confirm that.
So, we're gonna wrap it up here.
There you go. All right. Now, we're going to wrap it up. We're all done here. Nothing more to listen to or see here. We're done. We're over. All right. See you later. That's it. This is as pathetic as it gets from a major American city. I mean, it's not New York, Chicago, L.A., or even Kansas City and Providence, Rhode Island, but it's a solid city. It's a big city. And they are now on day 4, and they don't have a guy. I mean, they've released some grainy photos saying that the person's approximately 5'8" with a stocky build. Boy, that really narrows it down in the United States of America. Stocky? I mean, what do we have, 40% obesity rates in this country? Good to know he's stocky. That'll really get it down to, a couple 100 million people or so. That should do the trick. Earlier, a person of interest was detained in connection with the attack, but that person had since been released. So you still don't have any answers as you sit here and we sit here on a Tuesday morning in the wake of what happened. It is just absolutely tragic that they're not coming to any answers. And, of course, the longer this goes on, the harder it is to try to figure out who it is and where this person is. And you've got the FBI involved. You've got people pointing fingers at each other right now, but the agency is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the person responsible. So we'll see how it plays out. KCK, Steve, what's going on, my man?
Hey, buddy. I'm glad we had a successful surgery last night. There is a football team playing in January. It's Pete Mundo's Villanova Wildcats taking on Illinois State this week.
That's right. FCS semifinals. So let's stay on the tracks, though, big guy. What's going on?
Listen, this is about to go down the news. This is about to go down the news hole. I think you and I are both kind of on the same. You kind of alluded to it yesterday. The NFL has a phrase, protect the shield, and that's what they're doing. This is kind of an artsy-fartsy women's, elite women's college, and they have billions of dollars in the endowment, and they're not going to let anything. They're not going to let anything mess with that. So I
will say, and I don't know what you meant by it's not a women's college. You know that, right, Steve?
Well, predominantly. I don't think Cash or Dan Bongino can do anything with this because they've messed it up so bad. But I would be worried about the public safety, like you said, of the community, the public safety. In that the college is going to cover up for themselves. The college is all about protecting.
Yeah, but this is now an FBI investigation. This is an FBI investigation. How are they going to prevent the FBI from figuring out who this person is?
Well,
I agree.
According to Fox, the locals have control or have tried to take control of the investigation. I think the FBI is going to overrule them eventually. But this is just an absolute mess so far. This is just a total mess, and this will be, they'll be on to something else. The Charlie Kirk murder trial. This will be flushed, to the side. No one will ever remember. I will.
Well, I hope not. Thanks, Steve. I will say this. If Brown was left to its own devices, I agree with Steve that they would try to sweep this thing under the rug. But I will also note that I've been watching too much cable news over the last 24 hours because of this crazy national news cycle and Brown and Australia and, Rob Reiner and the whole thing. And CNN has been the network that has been most on the Brown story. Now, I don't know why. It is obviously a university that's Ivy League. You've got a lot of people in the Northeast, maybe some that work at CNN that have ties to the university. I don't know. I saw one of the anchors, his son, was visiting a friend at Brown over the weekend, and he was on television as well. It's the guy in the morning who always looks like he's about to drop a load. He's just, he always looks uncomfortable on the air. But his son was visiting a friend and was there over the weekend. He put him on television. So I'm just impressed thus far by how active CNN has been on the story. I don't believe that Brown is going to be able to cover this up. Not with Trump's DOJ and FBI on this story. And by the way, they definitely can't drop it until they have somebody arrested. Now, if they have somebody arrested and it turns out that he's motivated by Muslim extremism, yeah, they'll probably drop the story to the, third or fourth line. I agree with that. But we don't even have somebody arrested yet. So that's why they can't give this story up. 6:14, it's good to be here on KCMO. Happy Tuesday. Don't forget, it's Tirade Tuesday coming up at 8:30 this morning. If you're normally not here in the 8 o'clock hour, we allow listeners to rant and rave on whatever is on their mind. That's at 8:35 this morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. Speaking of a tirade, my goodness, the water in one part of Kansas City is not in good shape. Who's to blame? What's going on? We'll talk about it next here on KCMO.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO.
Did my man Luke Doris just say it's going to be a good day? Thank you, Luke. Thank you. Woo! That's right. I like hearing that from Luke Doris. We need one of those. We'll be hitting the low to mid-50s this afternoon. You got to like that. We're in a nice warming pattern here. We may be in the high 40s, low 50s, mid-50s throughout basically Christmas and, dare I say, New Year's. So that's outstanding after that cold blast we got over the weekend. We know it's coming, but I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, so where are we at right now when it comes to this Independence story? In Independence, the water system restoration is underway, but a boil water advisory remains in effect. I'm looking at this from the independencemo.gov website right now. They note here at about 7 p.m. Monday night, power was restored to the transformer at the Courtney Bend Water Treatment Plant. Turning the power on is part of the process. If all goes well with powering on the transformer, it will still take several hours to bring water pressure back up. Most of it, they note, will happen in the overnight hours. This restoration is a complex, carefully managed process following established emergency protocols to protect the water system as pressure is gradually restored. Crews continue to coordinate with regional partners, including Kansas City Water, which is providing supplemental water to help stabilize pressure citywide as part of the planned efforts. A boil water advisory remains in effect for all customers, even with water flowing again. This advisory is a standard safety measure issued when water service is interrupted and will remain in place until the system is fully stabilized and water quality testing confirms it is safe to lift. Crews continue to work and monitor in the overnight hours. We understand this disruption is challenging and appreciate the community's patience as this work continues, John.
Yeah, and they were going to run some tests this morning here, so that we should find out probably before lunch, I'm going to guess.
Okay.
It might be a surprise to get in the shower.
Yeah.
Of course, yesterday you were probably aware of it to kind of shut water down. They closed the schools, which are back in session today.
Good.
And then the courthouse was closed for a period of time, too, yesterday. So,
well, okay.
All kinds of problems. Yeah, and then they had a lady on TV running a salon, and, of course, she couldn't wash anybody's hair, so she lost what she figured was $300 for her. She was doing the foil treatment on the women's hair. She lost 2 appointments at $150 a pop.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. Borrowed a little water from KCMO.
How about that?
I guess, too, if you live a little higher up in elevation, it's going to take you a little longer to get pressure built up. So the higher up you live.
Well, I love how they put here in their post, they're like, we appreciate the community's patience. I don't know. You tell me in Independence. How patient are you having to boil water? And, I mean, are you allowed to shower this morning before work? Or are you calling into the boss and saying, listen, can't use the water, so I'm going to work from home today because if I show up, I'm going to smell like you know what. I mean, I don't have the answer to that, but I got a lot of texts from folks in Independence last night, and they were not happy at all with the government response, how this was playing out, shutting down schools. So this thing was certainly a mess yesterday. Hopefully, like you said, John, it's cleaned up by lunchtime or so.
Get the testing done. As I read into the story, though, it wasn't like this was an accident or a whoops. I think they were doing some maintenance and took down one of the deals, but then you know how that can happen. It's like, well, lost a bolt there, and we're going to have to send away for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't seem like the routine maintenance was quite routine, and that led to the issue.
Now, there's also this. Oak Grove city officials issued their own boil water advisory for customers yesterday after the outage in Independence. So this was also impacting Oak Grove. City advising water customers to use bottled or boiled water for consumption, cooking, or food preparation for humans and pets. Water filters should be replaced after the advisory has been lifted. According to Oak Grove officials, people can bathe and shower as usual, says Oak Grove officials, but children should be supervised so they don't ingest any water. The city advised customers to flush cold and then hot water from home tanks. You know, I'm the kind of guy in the shower, I like to ingest water and then just spit it out. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I'll like to drink some of the, I don't drink it, but ingest, I guess you would say, some of the water in the shower and just spit it out like I'm a ball player. I don't know why. I just like doing it, John. So if I was in Independence this morning, obviously that would not be a good idea.
Seems like I saw that on TV back in the 60s in a Zest commercial. No, and somehow it's like refreshing. People do that. They jump in the pool and come up and all, woo.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. So just if you do that, do not do that this morning in Independence, and you should be okay hopping in the shower. And if you have little kids like I do, and you try to bathe them or put them in the shower, forget it. I mean, that's not happening. I can't tell you how many times, especially my two younger ones, they're still taking baths together. The older one's in the shower now. But the younger two will hop in the bath, and it's like, stop drinking each other's dirty bath water. Oh, my, this is gross. And, the 4-year-old in particular, she's getting a little too old for that. But now she does it because Dad says don't do it. So we got that thing going on.
Builds up the immunity, Pete.
Well, I'm a fan of building up the immune system. I'm with you there, John. I don't want to keep them in a bubble. But there's something I find really nasty about drinking bath water with two little kids in it. I'm just like, stop doing that to each other. Goodness gracious. Oh, gosh. On the text line, Pete, why are there not backup generators for such a crucial utility? You would think they would have some kind of redundancy for issues that may come up. Pretty moronic. Well, I'm hoping to get the mayor on. I talked to Rory Rowland last night, the mayor of Independence, and he seemed open to coming on the show. And then he kind of ghosted me. So, I just sent him another text here a few minutes ago. I'm hoping he's going to come on KCMO this morning. They've been pretty tight-lipped in Independence. We have a good relationship with the city and the leadership. We've been fair to them. So I'm hoping we can get Mayor Rowland on the show this morning to answer some of those questions, because that's an excellent point. I mean, having a key utility like water not have some kind of backup for a situation like this is pretty surprising. But we'll try to get some answers on that if we can.
Yeah, it seemed what I was reading, they weren't expecting to have to use a backup. So we'll see if something went wrong in the process there. It was underestimated.
Well, that sounds like the engineers here. Well, we didn't expect to need this. We didn't think we'd have to use that, John.
Things like that happen, I guess.
It's like...
the universe is a strange place.
You prepare for the worst case scenario. That's what you do. And it seems like that did not happen in Independence.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll monitor that. In the meantime, we are monitoring Patrick Mahomes, the ACL, and surgery is done. It was successful. It is complete. And from what we saw from the Chiefs, they say that the rehab will start immediately. Mark, have you seen any over-unders on a return date for Patrick Mahomes with this ACL injury that could be upwards of a year to recover from?
Yeah, I think right now week 1 is the over-under. So early September.
Right around what? September 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in there usually, right?
I would say, let's do September 10th.
September, all right. That's what you're setting the over-under at for Mahomes, September 10th. Let me see. So the Labor Day is late this year. It's September 7th.
Okay.
Usually it's the Sunday after Labor Day is week 1, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So September 10th is good because then we can see if he practices before week 1.
Yeah. I mean, if the NFL season's going to start on Thursday, September 10th, it's usually the Thursday after Labor Day. Yeah, I didn't realize Labor Day is as late as it could be. It's September 7th this year. So that bodes well for a late start to the NFL season. There we go. All right. The Rob Reiner drama that just won't go away. We'll get you up on the latest next.
from Leawood to Liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, yesterday, the president shocked the world when he made Rob Reiner's murder and his wife Michelle's murder about himself, and it has caused a tremendous amount of blowback, and I'll just say rightfully so. If you didn't see it, the president of the United States, after Rob Reiner was murdered and his wife Michelle was murdered, allegedly at the hands of their son, who has dealt with years of drug addiction and mental health issues, he's now been arrested. The president writing here, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. You know, as a three-time Trump voter, I have no regrets on any of my votes. Elections are binary choices, and I don't regret a single vote. 3 times I voted for the guy. But this may be his worst social media post of all time. And yesterday, he doubled down on it when he was asked about it.
A number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. You know, Rob Reiner and his wife just died in one of the most evil ways possible. At the hands of a child that you birth, you raise, you love, and you care for. And this child had dealt with mental health issues for, 15, 20 years. Nothing to do with Trump. Anybody who's dealt with children or young adults with mental health issues understands that it is as difficult a thing as you are going to deal with. It had nothing to do with Trump. Now, did Rob Reiner hate Trump? Yeah, he did. Was Rob Reiner at all a reason that Trump dealt with some of the nonsense he dealt with over the last 10 years? No, he was a Hollywood big mouth. That's all he was. He had no juice. He wasn't in government. He wasn't part of, Joe Biden's DOJ coming after Trump. Just a big mouth in Hollywood. That's all he was. The guy had nothing to do with any of the issues Trump was dealing with over the last 10 years. And frankly, when it comes to Rob Reiner's politics, I don't care. I don't care about his nasty social media posts against Trump. I don't care about how other Trump haters reacted to Trump nearly being killed last year, or how many sick people out there reacted positively to Charlie Kirk's assassination this year. None of it matters. Plus, none of those people held the power of being president of the United States, let's be honest. There is no yeah, but here. If you're going to be outraged over some people's reactions to Donald Trump nearly being assassinated and Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, there is no yeah, but. There isn't. There can't be. If you yeah, but things on behalf of people that you support politically, then there's no moral compass. You don't have one. And the whole point is we are not them. We're not. That's the point, right? So don't make this about, who supports Trump the most, who's got his back when it's up against the wall. This was a totally self-inflicted wound, by the way. Think about this, right? The media is covering this Rob Reiner story. It's a Hollywood killing. I mean, it's something out of Hollywood is what this is. The famous comedian, actor, director allegedly gets killed with his wife in the middle of the night by their own son. It's tragic. It's disgusting. It's beyond disturbing. And somehow Trump hands the media this massive news story on a silver platter. That's what he did. He puts his own people in a difficult spot. He puts his own party in a difficult spot. And he gives the media all this runway to just beat the you-know-what out of him. I mean, they couldn't have asked for a better post from the President of the United States if they wanted to spend the week beating him up. That's what he gave them. So this is not about having the guy's back or who supports him more or less than anybody else. Everybody who voted for Trump wants to see him succeed, right? So if at the very least you can't grasp how this also feeds right into his political opponents, then you're not really seeing the forest through the trees here. Or it might just be time to pop that bubble that you're spending too much time in. 913-408-7957. That's how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Let's start with John in Topeka. Go ahead, John.
Good morning, Pete. Trump could have taken the high road, and it would have done more to grow people together, in my mind, than what he did. What he did was he took a brick, and instead of just dropping it on his own foot, he slammed it into his foot like Patrick Mahomes throwing a 90-yard pass. And he gave them all the fodder. Right now, he's looking for support and for that which his agenda is going forward. He's kind of fumbling and failing because of all the tariffs and the way that the economy is going. He doesn't need to give them something else to harp on him on, and he absolutely fumbled this one, completely. And the fact is that somebody should have said, "No, President Trump, you shouldn't say this. This is the dumbest thing you're ever going to say. If you're going to say this, it's going to be on the top of the dumbest things you've ever said." And somebody should have stopped him and said no, and taken the phone away and said, "It's time to go to bed."
Problem is, it was 8 a.m, but yeah, I get your point there, John. Oh my gosh!
8 o'clock in the morning, that's a good time for a nap.
Yeah,
According to Joe Biden,
Yeah, John, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. Stu, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Hey, Mungo. Look, it's not the first time that Trump has disappointed me, but and nobody deserves to be killed, especially by their own kin. I'm reminded of a neighbor I had who was shot in the back by his own stepson and killed in his own home. But I don't think Trump said anything that a lot of us weren't thinking. And let's just remember, Rob Reiner was the director of This Is Spinal Tap.
Mm-hmm.
His hatred for Trump went to 11.
Okay. And he was just killed by his kid.
Rim shot for that, at least?
No, not at all. I listen. Trump may he wanted. You can't ask for the rim shot, Stu. That's a big faux pas right there. You can't ask for the rim shot. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know. When I thought of Rob Reiner, I didn't think about his Trump derangement syndrome when I see that his kid allegedly slit his throat. I don't know. I mean, the notion of, well, Trump just says what people are thinking. Well, he alleged that Rob Reiner basically created his son into the monster that he was because of his TDS. I mean, look what the Post says here. It says, Rob Reiner, tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, reportedly has passed away, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his Trump derangement syndrome. The implication there is that his son killed him because he made other people angry because he had Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, that's literally insane is what that is. That is insane.
It's a new level for him even.
Absolutely.
I'm with you there.
That's totally nuts. Dennis and Bonner, what's up, Dennis?
Hey, I'm going to add to what John said because he kind of took some of my statement out. This was the perfect time for President Trump or those around him to say, hey, you're blowing up narco boats. You're fighting drug people. Use this. Don't mention the man's name, but just say someone in Hollywood died by his son's hand who was a drug addict. This is why we need to get drugs out of our country. He could have used it to his advantage, but I guess people's hate just overwhelms them sometimes.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, though, Dennis. You could, if you really wanted to make this in some ways about your policies, you could and say, hey, this is why I'm fighting the war on drugs. But once again, we didn't really have enough information about the son. We didn't know if he was high on something. We don't have any of that information. So even then, it's just speculation. But here's what TMZ is reporting on this story. TMZ had some new information last night that Nick Reiner, the son of Rob and Michelle, checked into the Pierside Santa Monica Hotel at about 4 a.m. on Sunday using his credit card. The check-in came hours after he got into a heated argument with his father at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Eyewitnesses who saw Nick check in say he seemed tweaked out, but there were no visible signs he had been in a violent confrontation. So this reservation at the hotel was made for one day. Nick never formally checked out. The staff came into his room later on Sunday morning. They found the shower full of blood and blood on the bed. The window in the room was covered by bed sheets. LAPD robbery homicide detectives went to the hotel Monday gathering evidence, and Nick was eventually tracked down and arrested 20 miles away near downtown Los Angeles. TMZ broke the story that Nick was acting strange at Conan O'Brien's party, not interacting with guests, and his attire was out of place. It was a pretty ritzy event, but Nick was rolling around in a sweatshirt and seemed high on something, according to people at the party. The Reiners have had problems for years trying to help Nick kick his substance abuse problem, and obviously largely to no avail. So that's the latest on that, courtesy of TMZ. Coming up, the 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour we'll bring to you next on 95.7 FM KCMO.
On Tuesday's Guy Benson Show, U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri is here on the very latest from Capitol Hill. Coming up at 2 o'clock on 95.7 KCMO.
Oh, little Eric Schmidt on the Guy Benson Show today.
I believe I heard Vince tell a story about Eric Schmidt yesterday on his show as well.
Everybody loves Eric Schmidt. You know, Eric Schmidt's team reached out to me a couple of weeks back. They said, hey, Senator wants to send you something. What's the address there? So I gave him my address, and I was like, ooh, what's this going to be? Copy of his new book. I'm like, come on. And then I look at the book. Can I get a signing of this? Can I get a signature in here? Can I get the John Hancock?
Happy holidays, Pete.
Yeah, something. Give me something. Instead, it's just like, a book from the publisher. I mean, I appreciate it. I'll read the book. It's called The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. But I don't know. I should have seen that coming from a mile away, right? I mean, shame on me for thinking it was something else. Copy of the latest book. Oh, my goodness. All right, it's that time of the morning here on KCMO. Let's do it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Top of the list this morning, Patrick Mahomes undergoing surgery in Dallas last night with Dr. Dan Cooper to repair the tear in his left ACL. And Mahomes is going to immediately begin the rehab process after he tore that ACL on Sunday in their loss, which knocked him out of the playoffs against the Chargers. So it's anywhere from a 9 to 12-month process to get Mahomes back to full strength. We'll have to see how it plays out. Mark has set the over-under at September 10th. That would theoretically be the Thursday before the start of the NFL season. So Mark is hoping he's going to be available for the entire 2026 season. That would be impressive, but he is 30. He did just tear the ACL and obviously undergo surgery for it, and it can be anywhere from 9 to 12 months.
And the LCL, I guess, there was an additional tear in there, so while it doesn't extend the rehab period, it said it's slightly a little more difficult.
Oh, man. Brutal.
Number 2.
Next up, let's go to Independence. Water system restoration is underway. The boil water advisory remains in effect. At about 7 p.m. last night, power was restored to the transformer at the Courtney Bend Water Treatment Plant. Turning the power on is part of the process, says the City of Independence. But a boil water advisory remains in effect for all customers, even with water flowing again. This advisory is a safety standard measure issued when water service is interrupted and will remain in place until the system is fully stabilized and water quality testing confirms it is safe to lift. So the schools were shut down yesterday, courts shut down yesterday. It looks like things will be back opened today, but they are still advising you to take precautions on this, and hopefully we'll get a full update at some point this morning.
Number 3.
Let's go to Lenexa. A 45-year-old woman was found dead yesterday morning after she disappeared early on Sunday. Amber Foster found dead in a Lenexa neighborhood near West 86th Street and Haven Street on Monday. Police have not announced a cause of death, but said there are no obvious signs of foul play at this time. Lenexa PD's original missing persons announcement stated Foster was last seen on Sunday at about 5:30 a.m. near West 87th Parkway and Winchester Avenue. She was walking towards the Canyon Farms golf course, and her vehicle was also found in a parking garage nearby. At this time, the police are still investigating Foster's death.
Number 4.
Let's go to Raytown. The head principal at Raytown South High School is facing extradition to Illinois to answer a criminal charge, per Channel 9. John Williams is a fugitive on a warrant from Monroe County, Illinois, south of St. Louis, where he's charged with fraud, theft by deception. Williams appeared before a judge December 11th in Johnson County to hear about the potential extradition, according to court records. His next court date is March 11th of 26. KMBC working to find out more details about the charge. They were not immediately available online. And his attorney says he's still employed by Raytown South School District. So go figure. Go make sense of that. He's still employed at Raytown South. Unbelievable.
Number 5.
Let's go to our old pal Dan Bongino, formerly here of KCMO Talk Radio. According to a report from Fox News, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino will make a decision about his future at the Bureau within the next few weeks, according to sources at Fox News. The sources deny recent reports that Bongino's office at the FBI is empty, but they say his departure is a possibility in the near future. Bongino has not made any decisions about his future, but of course, it's been kind of a tenuous tenure for Dan Bongino working with Kash Patel, so we'll see how that plays out.
Number 6.
And last but not least, Don Jr. is engaged to Bettina Anderson. She is a socialite down in Palm Beach, and she comes from a prominent family. Her father, Harry Loy Anderson Jr., became the youngest bank president in the U.S. in 1970. He took over Worth Avenue National Bank at 26 years old. He was a philanthropist, supported many causes. He died of Alzheimer's at the age of 70 in 2013. But his daughter Bettina, now engaged to Don Jr., who was most recently engaged to Kimberly Guilfoyle, and that engagement eventually broke off. So congratulations to Don Jr. There's your 6 at 6. Coming up next, you know I got the KCPD's back, but this is driving me nuts. Next. You know I've got the backs of KCPD, right? I'm prefacing my comments by saying that because anyone who's listened to this show for 5 minutes or 5 years understands that. There is, I don't believe anybody who has a microphone in this community who will back the blue like this show will. That being said, I am really struggling ahead of today's Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners meeting with this idea that the police department is requesting $417 million for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. I went back and I looked it up, and I saw that KCPD had a budget in 23-24 of about $285 million. They are looking now for a 20% increase from about $360 million to $421 million. The city says it's going to be about $100 million short on revenues this year compared to expenses. And while there's no doubt Kansas City has spent a lot of money on a lot of stupid stuff, okay, I'm not sitting here defending Kansas City's spending habits. I mean, these clowns were talking about reparations as of like 18 months ago. Thankfully, that ship has sailed. But at the same time, KCPD wanting a 20% budget increase. And really, I mean, do the math. From 23-24, you're talking about a $140 million increase in the budget from 3-4 years ago, a 50% increase from 3-4 years ago? For what? And by the way, I talked to a few people about this last night. It's not for raises for the cops. There are no raises in here for men and women in law enforcement. That's not what this is about. They got some good raises over the last couple of years. That's great. You got to stay competitive. And frankly, a lot of that is because of the screw-ups politically at City Hall. If City Hall didn't spend, the year of 2020 playing footsie with the defund the police crowd, we might not be in a situation where you've got to give some of these big raises and drop the residency requirement and do all these different things. But now, 20% hike? I mean, read the room. City's basically going broke. You've gotten massive budget increases the last few years. And now we're sitting here talking about this. You can be pro-cop while also say, there's got to be a little accountability here when it comes to where the money's going for the taxpayer. That's what this ultimately has to be about. Now, I did talk to some folks who said a lot of this is going to things like pensions, which the city kicked the can down the road of for far too long. I don't deny that. There's also lawsuit settlements involved here in this, from what I understand. The city's been very willing to settle some of these lawsuits that have come against KCPD to the tune of millions of dollars. That's part of the equation here. Health insurance costs have gone up. I understand all of that. Workers' comp up as well. And I did the math, and that's about $20-30 million. We're still talking about another $20 to $30 million that I'm trying to figure out what we're talking about here, what the money's for. And at a time when Kansas City doesn't have the money, as much as they have spent money on a lot of stupid things, and they should spend a good amount of their money on law enforcement and policing in this town, I'll always have their backs on that. A 20% hike when there have been very generous increases over the last few years, well, even in my book, that seems a little extensive. So I'm just trying to get a read on what that's obviously about. 913-408-7957. Say you join us here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming as always on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Let's go to a caller who wants to remain anonymous south of the metro. Go ahead.
Hey, Pete. I'm a city councilman from a small town of less than 10,000, about 30 minutes south of Kansas City. We went through our budget process this summer. We're on the Kansas side of the state line to give a little bit of background. Our police department came in wanting almost a 20% salary increase for 26, and that was before the benefits that were going to go up almost 20% as well. So it's going on everywhere. I'm not sure what the solution is. I know there are some large towns or large cities in Johnson County that are sort of driving this, it seems, because it seems to be a constant arms race for who can pay officers most to keep them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we really have a problem. That's interesting, and I appreciate that. We really have a problem, to your point, where we don't have enough people who want to be cops. And frankly, 2020 probably set us back a generation on people wanting to be in law enforcement. So you have a supply and demand issue where you have more jobs available for people to be cops than you have people who want to get into the job. So it does create this arms race where cops say, hey, if I want to leave KCPD, I'll go to Overland Park. I'll go to Lee Summit. I'll go to wherever you're at down south. And that obviously does create this arms race. But for KCPD, at least as I understand it, in this 20% hike, it's not even for raises for members. It's just for things that I'm not even clear on right now.
Yeah, I can't speak to Kansas City, Missouri. I know, like I said, we had our own sort of issues, and I agree the 2020 thing definitely set us back. I know our department's under 20 officers, and we've been 2 officers short for at least 2 or 3 years now, just because we can't find anybody.
Wow. And I got to imagine, it's a pretty good gig being an officer down there. You guys probably get, or they probably get attaboys and things like that when they go around town, and they don't deal with some of the nonsense that KCPD probably deals with, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a small town. We're on a major highway, but that doesn't, it doesn't create the urban problems or the suburban problems that some of the larger municipalities have.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for the check-in on that. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Pete. Have a good day.
You as well. So that's an anonymous city council member down south on the Kansas side who just said this is happening all over the place. Well, guess what? Listen, someone's got to pay the bill. And you know who ends up paying the bill? You do. And that's where it's like, listen, I understand 2 things here. One, the nation did a lot of damage to itself on policing because of its handling and the media handling and the ridiculous protests that were anti-cop in 2020. And we're still paying the price on some of the things that caller just mentioned. But at the same time, after multiple raises the last few years, and obviously multiple budget increases the last few years, is now the time for KCPD to come out and say, we need another 20%. We got to get this thing to $420 million when it was $285 million just 3 years ago. Now, that's ballsy. And frankly, I think for the taxpayer, it's fair to ask, I like the cops. I want the cops to be great in Kansas City. I'm going to have their back. I'm going to thank them for their service when I see them on the streets. But at the same time, I'm paying the bill, and I'd like to know exactly what this is all for. And it doesn't excuse Kansas City being reckless with their spending in other places. It's not about, but look at all the garbage they spend money on over here. That's not the point. We should want government accountability from all of the departments, from all the different places that take the money from the private sector and then use it to spend in public or on the public. 913-4087-95.7, the text line and the studio line here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming as always on the KCMO Talk Radio app and the TuneIn app and much more here on KCMO Talk Radio. We'll get to a lot more here in the 7 o'clock hour as well. We have Tirade Tuesday at 8:30 on 95.7 FM. Do not miss that. Your chance to rant and rave about whatever's on your mind on KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, it's Vince Colonnese. Catch my new show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Keatsman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, well, if you're waking up this morning in Independence, you can take a shower, but just don't ingest the water. Be careful as the water system restoration continues and is underway right now. The boil water advisory, according to the Independence website, independencemo.gov, remains in effect. But Kathy Quinn, Fox 4, has been on it this morning. Kathy, what is the latest?
Good morning. I spoke with Rebecca Gannon, who is the spokesperson for the City of Independence. She says water is flowing to all customers, which is great news. However, the boil order, that advisory, it is still in effect because they're doing testing, and this is what takes time. Now, it took time to get all the pressure back to normal. That takes a lot of time. It's a complex system, so according to the city. So what they're doing right now is they are testing 15 sites. What will happen is it takes 18 hours to get those results, so that's the issue right now. It'll take a little bit of time before they'll say, hey, it's okay to drink the water. For now, boil that water into anywhere, like 3 to 5 minutes, cool it down, and then you can drink it, that type of thing. But do not drink the water right now. And if you have issues as well, just keep it on the site. Keep it on Fox 4 as well, because we're going to have the very latest. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that's what's happening right now. So you can flush your toilets. You can take a shower. Great news. And but just know that boil advisory, it's still in effect.
Okay, so it's going to be a few more hours to get to that 18-hour mark from when they started this yesterday. Had they said anything about why there was no backup or anything yesterday when this whole system went down?
I haven't really gotten into that. What we know that the different folks helped them out. The Kansas City Water helped them out so they could keep the pressure up. Kansas City Water now is gone, so they're not using them anymore. But no, I'm sure that'll be coming up, though. They just wanted to get this thing restored. They said that they were just as, concerned as the customers, and they just appreciate everybody's patience in this matter.
Okay, and the schools are open, government buildings are open today after they shut them down yesterday, right?
Yeah, and just let you know, the schools are open, so kids, you got to go to school. Just know that the school will have bottled water. Those kids are waiting for school to be off for any reason. They'll have that bottled water ready to go, so you'll have that at the school.
All right, Kathy Quinn, Fox 4. Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate it. Keep up the great work. Been watching this morning.
All right, honey. See you later.
All right, there you go. Kathy Quinn, Fox 4, does a great job over there on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. It is listen, this was a mess yesterday in Independence. Now, I will say you can shower, but do not ingest the water. And I know sometimes kids like to do, heck, I like to do that. I don't ingest it and swallow the water in the shower, but I'll sometimes put the water in my mouth and then just blast it out like I'm 5 years old.
Like the Triple H.
Yeah.
If you remember that guy.
Exactly. Just like Triple H.
That was a good time.
Oh, those were the golden years of the WWE, formerly the WWF. That's exactly like Triple H. Now, I don't do it quite that dramatically where I throw my shoulders back, look in the air, and just, scream as I'm blasting the water out of my mouth. But, whatever. If your kids take baths this morning, make sure they are not drinking the bath water. As someone who has little kids who drink the bath water, that can happen once in a while. You don't want them doing that this morning in Independence. That boil water advisory is still in effect for at least the next few hours. Mark, speaking of little kids, what'd they do for your birthday yesterday? The big 41. How did it go down for you, my man?
It went well. We went to Joe's KC for dinner, so got some barbecue, and then we went thrifting after, which we love thrifting. So we went to the thrift store, which in Olathe is right next door to the Joe's. So everybody picked out something, and we all had a great birthday. I had a great birthday.
Wait. Hold on a second here. Everybody picked out something. It was your birthday.
I know, that's a part of the fun. I like to see joy on their faces. It's like giving gifts at Christmas. My birthday's always been linked to Christmas, so I just like to give the joy to everybody.
Oh.
Such a nice man.
Okay, I see how it goes. So you wanted to see everybody else celebrate on your birthday by allowing everyone to get something from the thrift store.
Exactly right.
All right, what did everyone pick up from the thrift store?
So we had a Barbie doll picked out. We had a scooter picked out. What did Brielle get? Now I'm blanking on what Brielle. I think she got a KU hoodie or something like that.
Okay. All right.
And then I got these new shoes. You can't see them on the radio, but boom.
Let me. What are those?
They're not Adidas.
They're very nice.
Yeah, $15. I mean, they'd be $60 new. So
Man,
let's
you
go.
are a great thrift shopper, man.
Oh, yeah.
Between how you take advantage of the deals on all the apps to how you go thrift shopping, you are just on it, man.
You got to be mindful in this economy. Right?
Have you ever paid for a hat, or is every hat you've ever gotten in worn free?
I do pay for hats.
Oh, you do?
I wait till they're on sale, but I'll buy a hat.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Good deal. Nice job there, Mark. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
He shares his exuberance from time to time. He'll be scrolling down like, whoa, hey. You know, it'll be one of those unique hats. It'll be 30% off or something. Plus, he's got bonus points stashed up.
So that's when you guys aren't paying attention on the other side of the glass.
When
and
you
I've got
say
to yell
go to
at you.
break.
Yeah, when I've got to yell at you
We're
guys
shopping.
off mic to go to break and hit the buttons and, bump up the music and play the sound bites, it's because Mark's scrolling for thrift shopping is what you're telling me is going on back there.
No, it's just if an offer comes through.
Okay,
See.
I got you. All right. Well, it's good to know what's going on the other side of the glass because sometimes I feel like I have no idea. I mean, I can see you guys, but I have no idea what's going on
Man,
over
I
there.
tell you, I'd have loved to have these multiple screens in grade school when I was a kid. I had to do all kinds of camouflaging with my desktop and stuff back in the day.
Oh, that's outstanding. That is outstanding. Well, it's going to be a great day in Kansas City. Listen, the news cycle's been brutal, especially nationally over the last few days. But we dug out of that cold. We're looking at a nice stretch here in the 50s, potentially all the way through Christmas and thereafter. So we've got an outstanding week and a half ahead. And we're glad you're joining us here on 95.7 FM and right on the KCMO Talk Radio app as well. Coming up, we've got Tirade Tuesday, 1 hour away. Get those tirades all warmed up. Whatever you want to get off your chest and rant about, that is at 8:35 on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, the FDA and an official with the FDA is making a new claim about the COVID vaccine in kids. We'll share that next.
From Gladstone to Gardner, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Wow, would you look at this? An internal memo leaked to the media from the FDA claims that at least 10 children have died after and because of receiving the COVID-19 vaccination. This was written about at the Sentinel, sentinelksmo.org. Dave Trabert, Kansas Policy Institute, is here on KCMO. Dave, what's the story, what's the reporting, and what do you make of it?
Well, good morning, Pete. It's good to be here. It's really, 10 might not sound like a lot of kids. Not that, I mean, just one is a tragedy, but that's 10 out of about 96 cases they examined. It's an extraordinarily high rate. And the real sad part of this is the people at the FDA knew about this and tried to cover it up. I mean, this is the previous FDA. They have found a link between the COVID vaccine and a serious heart condition called myocarditis.
You know, it's just so frustrating because we all knew, listen, when the thing came out, there were definitely high-risk people, older people who could definitely stand to benefit. But the way they took this one-size-fits-all approach on kids, on young, healthy people, especially young, healthy men who seem to be potentially more susceptible to some negative effects coming out of this vaccine or this shot, is just beyond frustrating, disturbing. And I'm glad we're finally getting some answers on this whole thing, Dave.
Same here. And I hope that the people who were chastising us to follow the science will follow the science on these findings.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, I think they will just deny the science exists because, RFK is a kook and Trump's a kook, so you can't believe anything these people say. But, I mean, you've got an internal memo leaked to the media by this Dr. Vinay Prasad, and that's where this is coming from. So this is not coming from politicians. This is coming from doctors inside the FDA, right?
That's right. And they're citing data in peer-reviewed papers.
Wow.
This is really serious stuff. And hopefully we never have to face a pandemic of that nature again, but we sure better learn from this one.
That is so true. Dave Trabert is here on KCMO Talk Radio. Listen, I know we've had good people on the Kansas and the Missouri side of the state line fighting some of this, but is there anything that you want to see happen, let's say locally, whether it comes to doctors or requirements or anything like that you think we should take from this story as it continues to unfold in the days and weeks to come?
Well, I'm not a doctor and I'm just a recovering accountant. So I guess I'll just say that I hope that people on both sides of the issues in the medical community can have a rational, honest dialogue and learn from this. There's rarely, I guess, an absolute. But we have to get beyond the criticism of people just because they have a different opinion. Have an adult conversation, for goodness sakes.
That's so well said. Dave Trabert is here on KCMO Talk Radio. All right, Dave, what's going on? And you guys wrote about this just yesterday at sentinelksmo.org. What is going on in Lansing? And there's some drama there with a school board and investigation. And there's a lot that obviously people are focused on. It hasn't gotten necessarily mainstream media attention in Kansas City, but that's what you guys do a great job of, covering stories that most of the media won't. So what's going on in Lansing?
Well, speaking of hopefully being able to have a rational adult conversation, that's often not possible in education. There is often, not always, but often a sharp divide between board members who are really student focused and board members who are more system focused, and just, it's like we can't disrupt the bureaucracy. And that's at the core of this issue. Amy Covey was elected 4 years ago with some other board members who really came in and said they were listening to parents and wanted to have serious conversations. It's like not blame people, but let's look at where we really are and move forward. And that's their job, by the way, as a board member. Your job is to hold the district accountable and guide it to what the community, to meet the community's expectation. What we have found out is that shortly before the election this year, Amy Covey was told by her superintendent, who works for her, of course, that they had a complaint that she had violated privacy laws, Title IX discrimination, maybe open meetings, but he wouldn't let her see the complaint. I don't know. Maybe some board members saw it, but the accused never saw the complaint. And to make it worse, now this became a cause celeb in the community. Oh my goodness, a board member is being investigated. So the superintendent goes out on his own without board authority, hires people to conduct an investigation. And so far, Amy says they spent over $20,000 investigating a complaint she's not allowed to see. And then magically, 2 days after the election, the complaint is dropped.
Wow.
So allegedly, the person who made the complaint sent an email, and we have the email saying, well, I guess the election resolved my complaint. That's what it was about. It's not about, we hear all the time, it's all about the kids. And some people mean that, and a lot of people certainly want it to be all about the kids, but not if they have to change their own behavior to make that happen.
Well, that's an excellent point. So, I mean, listen, here's the thing though, right? Those, as you would call them, the school board members, and there's not a lot of them left, it seems like, in the immediate Kansas City area, but those who you would call student-focused, they basically got smoked in most of their races a few weeks ago in favor of the system-focused school board members. So what does that tell you? Is it just about the money? Is it about getting out the vote? Is it about transparency? Like what's going on here, and how does that change moving forward, if at all?
Well, the good news, Pete, is that what we see in Johnson County is not what's going on around the state. Yes, there were some student-focused people who were defeated because there are factions within a community, and Johnson County is rife with it, that are just vehemently against having an honest conversation about student achievement. But we work with school board members all across the state. Some good student-focused people got elected. Others are really, who weren't even up for election, existing board members are, once they get information and they're allowed to have an open adult conversation with each other, we're starting to see some really good movement. We have one district we've worked with where the entire board, and this started out as a really divided school board, but fortunately their superintendent brought us in, we worked with them, and now they're moving ahead and they're showing gains far better than the state average. This is not easy, but it really is simple. It's problem solving 101. How deep is our problem? What are the barriers we have to overcome? And now we have to have the courage to put the changes in place. And we are seeing more and more of that across Kansas.
Wow. That's great. It's good news. All right. Keep fighting the good fight there, Dave Trabert. We appreciate you being here on KCMO. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Pete. Have a good day.
All right. You as well. That is Dave Trabert right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. It's great to be here on a Tuesday. We've got those Styx and Chicago tickets coming up in a half hour. Every weekday at 8:15 this morning, Morton Amphitheater. That's the new amphitheater opening up in Riverside. That is coming up at 8:15, and then Tirade Tuesday at 8:30. on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up next, we have a new statement from Andy Reid. He talked yesterday about Patrick Mahomes undergoing the ACL surgery. Where does it all go from here? And finally, some other folks in media are catching on to something I've been saying for weeks. That's next.
On Tuesday's Guy Benson Show, U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri is here on the very latest from Capitol Hill. Coming up at 2 o'clock on 95.7 KCMO.
Man, I just saw this weather forecast, one of our local stations I had flipped on there. I'm already looking forward to Saturday. I got to, I did, most of the leaves are done in the yard, but then randomly, you always have these leaves, usually these oak trees that just hang on to their leaves till like mid-December. And even though they're not mine, they somehow end up in my yard. And they've just been lingering there for the last 10 to 14 days or so. I haven't really touched it since the pneumonia. And I'm already looking forward to getting out there on Saturday. It's going to be 55 degrees. Let's go.
Woo! Yeah, those leaves, they just kind of, especially on a day like yesterday when there's a lot of wind, they just kind of fling around and they go to whoever's yard it lands in.
I don't know how they end up right in the corner of my, garage, right outside of it, but it's just like clockwork, man. And I haven't gotten out there. Kids are going to be upset, though. It doesn't look like they're getting a white Christmas. They seem to think that Christmas means it's automatically going to snow. And I don't know when I'm going to break the news to them, John. Maybe they're listening right now at home on the Google Home or the Alexa. But, girls, it doesn't look like you're getting a white Christmas in Kansas City this year, John.
However, we've received 4 to 6 inches of oak leaves in our front yard. Oh. I've got 2 trees in the right angle garage door to the house.
Yeah.
And so, vortex forms. And I've got literally up halfway up my shin a pile of leaves right in front of the steps. And they don't move. They just gather there.
Well, so you got to get out there, too, this weekend.
Yep.
We all got work to do.
Yeah, I got to blow them in the neighbor's yard.
There was a pile between my house and my neighbor's house when I left for work yesterday. And then when I got home, the pile was all in his yard. The wind had just blown it there.
Oh,
so
man.
Not my fault.
Amazing.
That's amazing how that works, right? I don't want to see you on the Ring doorbell, Mark, blowing your leaves into your neighbor's yard, okay?
No, that's not me.
Please, don't be that guy. No one likes that neighbor. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's got Isley doing it, a handful at a time. Small handful.
Put the kids on it, right? Get them in trouble. Oh, my goodness. So Andy Reid talking yesterday about Patrick Mahomes, the ACL, of course, tear that he suffered. He underwent surgery yesterday, successful surgery down in Dallas for Patrick Mahomes. And here's what Andy Reid had to say about it.
I've had a good visit with him a couple different times. So he's in a good place. He always feels like he let people down, but then he comes back and he's ready for the challenge ahead, which is what's real right now. He's just got to get through surgery wherever it might be, and then move on from there.
Well, it happened in Dallas last night. Dr. Dan Cooper repaired the tear in the left ACL, and now Mahomes will begin that rehab process immediately. I'm amazed how many people are just destroying Andy Reid. Now, I understand that this offense has not been great over the last really 2-3 years. Over the last 3 seasons, the Chiefs have not been top 15 in points. That is a disaster when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, regardless of the challenges around him. They've been a middle-of-the-road offense on points per game for the last 3 seasons. But, I'm seeing some extreme stuff on social media, like, fire Andy Reid. Okay, 2 things can be true. Firing Andy Reid is nuts. You're just absolutely insane. But then also, Andy does desperately need to revamp the offense because the schemes are just awful. Can we all agree on that? That he's got to get some new voices, some new ideas, some fresh faces into that coaching staff right now, John?
As a football fan, the one thing I would really like to know is what play was called and where did the execution break down?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think Patrick's part of the execution breakdown.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah. That's absolutely fair. No doubt about it. I'm not saying that he's absolved from any of this. His interception on Sunday
There's so much
was terrible.
to go around, you can't pin it on one guy, right?
Yeah, no.
Literally.
Literally, you can't.
You're going
I agree.
for the 3rd Super Bowl. It's just a hangover, just the way it is. Here we are. It's the morning after the night before,
I do want to see him just lose out, though. I know it's going to be hard against the Titans and the Raiders. But, man, I would love to see a top 10 draft pick at this point.
Back to the Broncos, I don't know. If they're already cinched up and they're already resting people, it's going to be hard to maybe lose that.
I know.
We'll see, right?
I know.
Right?
That's the difficult thing.
Yeah.
If the Broncos have the division lined up, and who knows where the 1 seed's at by next week, but they may say, hey, we want the Chiefs to win because we don't want them to get a better draft pick.
And yet, what if Patrick's knee injury is the final closure of bad luck? And all of a sudden, from now on, it's going to be like the beginning of The Simpsons when it opens up. Butker's going to nail a 70-yard field goal, and all kinds of crazy stuff's going to start happening. Wow, man. Kareem Hunt went 99 yards on that play.
Yeah. They recover an onside kick late in the game.
All
Something
the freaky
stupid like that happens. Oh, man. I will tell you what, though. I am glad to see some local media and national media jump on my bandwagon of wondering why Travis Kelce doesn't talk to the media after losses. Us Weekly writes this story. Travis Kelce refused to talk to reporters after being eliminated from the playoffs. This was then picked up by the Kansas City Star. Travis Kelce dodged the media, they write, again after the Chiefs were eliminated from the playoffs, marking the first time in over a decade the team is not postseason bound. They write here, refusing to speak to the media after losses has become a habit for Kelce this season, who also skirted the responsibility following the Chiefs games against the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. Instead, Kelce has taken to using his New Heights podcast as a way to discuss the Chiefs' difficult season in a more controlled setting. That's written by Us Weekly and syndicated into the Kansas City Star yesterday afternoon. Good for them. I mean, I have been on this for a month, and finally I'm getting a little bit of traction here, John, from other folks in media.
In a more controlled
Yes.
setting. Boy, are we swimming with the guppies here in Kansas City compared to East Coast media. How much heat does a Chief take?
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not, listen, we have some good sports journalists, not great.
Sure.
We have some good folks in the locker room who will ask some solid questions. I firmly believe that. But this is not Philadelphia, right?
Right.
This is not Boston dealing with the Red Sox. Travis Kelce can't hack a few questions with the Kansas City media, who generally are just going to, they will give him the benefit of the doubt every single time. They're not going to really push him all that much. If he can't handle that as a leader making $20 million a year, face of the franchise, you got to be kidding me, brother. Come on now. And finally, there's some other people talking about it. I was glad to see it over the last couple of days. Now, speaking of the NFL, this went viral yesterday. An Eagles fan had a police officer show up at his house. Why? Well, he put up on social media that he was going to harm himself after the Eagles lost to the Chargers on Monday Night Football a week and a half ago. It just came out via like a Ring doorbell video, and here's what it sounded like.
Yep. Hey, man, how's it going? Are you Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so someone called in reference to your Facebook post.
The Eagles lost, man.
I know. So
I'm fine. The Eagles lost and the dogs are barking. I'm pissed.
I gotcha. You don't plan on hurting yourself?
No. Jalen Hurts threw 3 guys. Turn the ball over 6 times.
That's right, yeah. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate it. All right, take it easy.
Jeez. This guy's name was Jake Beckman, and he posted on social media that he was probably going to hurt himself. He used a different word. I'll let you know. He posted this after the Eagles lost to the Chargers on Monday Night Football before the Chargers came to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. And now that Ring doorbell video has gone viral over the last 24 hours. After a cop showed up to his house, somebody obviously reported that social media post, and he goes, "Bro, I'm fine. The Eagles lost. Jalen Hurts had 6 turnovers. Leave me alone." And the cop's like, "Okay, just checking, buddy. It's all right. It's going to be okay. It still is just a game. It's going to be all right." I'm going to tell you why coming up. If you are in one part of Kansas City, your taxes will go up despite what politicians may be telling you next. I wanted to wait for the 8 o'clock hour to hit on this here on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. And if you're at the office by now, you can stream us at kcmotalkradio.com or right on your phone on the iHeart app. Just search KCMO Talk Radio. And it's this idea that if the Kansas City Royals decide they're coming to 119th and Null, your taxes won't go up. I don't believe it for a second. And I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest that if the Royals pick 119th and Null, your taxes actually will go up, despite the pitch from local officials and state lawmakers and the team and everybody else involved in this dog and pony show. So let me explain this here, because obviously what's going to happen is that if the Royals decide they want to play baseball at 119th and Null, they're going to draw a star bond district. What does this mean? They will draw a district around Overland Park and Leawood. They will submit that district to the state, and the state board will then either approve or deny the district. And what will happen is that basically the additive sales tax revenues on top of the current levels within this district, whatever this district ends up being, that the Royals draw if they decide to go to Kansas at 119th and Null, the extra sales tax revenues that come out of this district will be used by the team to pay off the bonds on the stadium. Now, naturally, what's going to happen is, that's one of the most desirable shopping areas in the entire state, right? You can't think of better real estate in the state of Kansas than 119th and Null. So the Royals know if they play baseball there, that is as safe of a bet as it gets, because that's, when you talk about demographics, when you talk about socioeconomic income levels, all these different things, that's as good as it gets at 119th and Null. So they know they've got a slam dunk. There's no going out to the legends and having to start from scratch. They can tap into sales tax revenues already in the area to pay off their stadium. All the shopping, all the restaurants. Now, you will not pay a dime more in sales taxes at any of these establishments. And that's what the politicians will tell you. But here's the rub. This part of Johnson County is going to see growth no matter what, right? It's one of the most desirable parts, I would say, in the entire Midwest, that stretch of Overland Park and Leawood. So those sales tax revenues are going to increase whether the Royals are there or not. Every single year, there will be more sales tax revenues to come out of this part of the state of Kansas. Number one, because of inflation, right? Just naturally. As things get more expensive, as restaurants charge a little bit more for food, as shopping establishments charge a little bit more for their goods and services, the sales tax revenues that come out of these places are going to increase. It would have nothing to do with the Kansas City Royals having a stadium there. Part of that will just be inflation. That's the dirty little secret on inflation, and I've talked about this. The dirty little secret on inflation is that local governments actually don't mind it, because if the cost of goods and services go up 20%, what happens? Their sales tax revenue goes up 20%. They get more money because the sales taxes generated off of the increase in the cost of goods and services goes into their bottom line. So let's take Overland Park. You've got Overland Park, and Overland Park has increased its budget by about 60% over the last few years. I think they're up to a $500 million budget. So they've seen a major increase over the last few years. They rely in large part on sales tax revenues. And suddenly, if the expected sales tax revenues out of the 119th and Null area no longer are coming into their coffers, but instead are going into the Royals, and the Royals are using those sales tax increases to pay off their stadium, well, the city of Overland Park is going to have to get those increases from somewhere, because suddenly one of the prime parts of their city the increases in sales tax revenues over the current levels are no longer going to City Hall. They're no longer going to the city to pay for services. You think the city of Overland Park is just going to give all that money up and say, all right, Royals, you take it. We'll work on a little tighter budget. No, because, by the way, they're going to have maintenance costs in that area as well. And there's very little evidence to suggest that Overland Park has any interest in reining in its spending based on how they've dictated their spending over the last few years. So what will they do? They'll go out there. They'll quietly increase maybe property taxes by a little bit more. They will find other ways to increase revenue because now the increase in revenue that they would expect from one of their prime parts of their own city, 119th and Knoll, a lot of those additive sales tax revenues will now be going to pay off a baseball stadium. So that additive money that otherwise would have gone to the city to pay for basic services is now going to pay off a baseball stadium. And if you think the Royals are just going to tighten their, belt buckle a little bit here, or if the city's going to tighten its belt buckle a little bit here, you're kidding yourself. That's not how it's going to go. So just be careful on this whole idea of like, don't worry, there's no more taxes for you to pay. Well, you tell me what you think the city of Overland Park is going to do when the additive sales tax revenues they would expect to come out of one of the most desirable and lucrative parts of their city is no longer there because the additive sales tax revenues above the current levels are now being used to pay off a baseball stadium. You tell me what you think they're going to do. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. That is the studio line and the text line here on KCMO. We also have this breaking news this morning. Leawood city leaders are pushing back against reports that the Overland Park Hesperia campus could be the future home of the Kansas City Royals. Leawood Mayor Mark Elkins released a statement this morning on behalf of the city regarding a potential stadium site. Here's the statement from the city of Leawood's mayor, Mark Elkins. The city of Leawood supports keeping the Kansas City Royals in our region. However, the city council and I cannot at this time support the Overland Park Hesperia campus as an appropriate location for a Major League Baseball stadium. While Hesperia is in Overland Park, it is located directly across from Knoll Avenue from Leawood. Based on media reports and direct feedback from our residents, we share serious concerns about the potential impacts on Leawood and its citizens should a stadium be built on this property. These concerns include traffic congestion, noise and lighting, public safety and emergency access, parking in residential neighborhoods, infrastructure capacity, and impacts on nearby schools, medical facilities, senior living communities, and established single-family residential areas. The rest of the statement from the Leawood mayor goes on the note here. These concerns have been amplified by the state of Kansas's lack of transparency regarding any plans for the site, which has eroded trust that residents' concerns will be heard and meaningfully considered. We are further troubled by public statements from T-Mobile and the Jewish Community Center Association, two institutions that are vital to the economic and cultural fabric of the area. Their expressed concerns about this proximity of a stadium and the negative impacts they anticipate underscore the broader risks associated with the location. Given the concerns raised by residents, writes the Overland Park mayor, and the opposition voiced by key institutions in this area, as well as the lack of information regarding the project, the city of Leawood cannot, at this time, support the location of a stadium at the Hesperia campus in Overland Park. There you go. That's outstanding.
Show some RESPICT.
It's nice to see somebody call this whole thing out for what it is. I love the line about the state of Kansas's lack of transparency. It's amazing to me how little transparency there continues to be, whether it's from state leaders or it's from local leaders, most notably in Overland Park and Johnson County. And finally, somebody is standing up, and it's coming from Leawood Mayor Mark Elkins, and it's coming from the city council as well. And it's about time somebody in elected office around here actually stood up for the residents in the wake of this just absolutely terrible idea that has been put together by local leaders and state leaders and the Royals. So, I mean, things are lining up, I think, for the better right now to avoid putting a baseball stadium at 119th and Knoll. And listen, I've heard from a lot of people who live in that area who obviously don't want it, who are starting to realize that this is a real possibility and it's a bad thing. Here's the deal, though. Just to be clear and be totally transparent on my end, I don't live over there. This has no impact on me. It has nothing to do with not in my backyard. I just think it's terrible for fans. I think it's terrible for that part of town, and it makes absolutely zero sense. But it's got nothing to do with me. I have heard from people in that area, and they're like, we're okay with the Royals coming to Kansas, just not in our backyard. It's like, well, why? No. Either you think it's a good idea and you think the Star Bonds are a good idea, or you don't. Okay, and if you're the Royals, I get why that location makes sense. You can tap into guaranteed sales tax revenues that you can get to pay off your stadium that will be there whether or not your stadium is a success or not because of how successful that part of Kansas is. It's an easy way to guarantee yourself the ability to pay off the stadium because remember, the Star Bonds are not backed by the state. They are fully on the hook. And that's where Missouri does have a leg up. Missouri is backing its bonds. The state of Kansas does not back Star Bonds. So if you're the Royals and you're serious about Kansas, you want to go to a place where you know you're most likely to be able to pay off that stadium and pay off those bonds. And 119th and Knoll is it. But thankfully, we do have some local leaders who are finally standing up to the chaos and the terrible ideas that are coming out of these places. Let's do the Chicago Sticks tickets right now. 7th caller, 913-408-7957. Winning tickets to see Chicago and Sticks, Morton Amphitheater in Riverside next August 25th. Let's do it right now. 7th caller. We'll see Chicago and Sticks next summer, courtesy of KCMO Talk Radio. Tirade Tuesday, 20 minutes away.
from the nation's heartland. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
All right. John, who won the, as I called them, the Ticks and Chicago tickets?
The Ticks tickets?
Yes.
Yeah, Joy Ewing and Belton winner once again. Going to the show and looking forward to it. Seen Chicago before. And I was just thinking, Chicago has played about everywhere. They do Royal Stadium. They've done Arrowhead Stadium. They're out at Sandstone all the time. So when we build a new amphitheater, Chicago has to come back. Them and REO owe us a performance. So a chance to see Chicago at Morton Amphitheater August 25th with Styx. They call it the Windy Cities Tour. Both bands from Chicago. So that'll be here. We've got a chance for you to win tickets coming up tomorrow at 8:15.
Now, you tell me, John, are all these guys alive? Are part of them dead? Or what's the deal there? Do you know?
With Chicago, well, one member, we lost Terry Kath a long time ago. I'm not quite sure. It's a lot of them. It's most of them in both bands.
Okay, good. All right. There you go. Very nice. Very good deal. Well, you got those tickets there, Joy and Belton. Congratulations. Next chance to win coming up tomorrow at 8:15 right here on KCMO Talk Radio. So I just want to play this. This is something that I heard from a guy named Mark Halperin. You may remember him from Fox. He used to be on Fox News, and he was on a lot of the cable channels. Now he's on his own, and he does a daily political talk show called Two Way. He was previously the political director for ABC News. I mean, this guy has very deep ties to the political world. And, he's right of center, I would say, but he's got ties on both sides of the political aisle. So he said something here about 2028 yesterday on his show that went viral. And I just want to share with you what I've heard on this as recently as 3 weeks ago. So here's what Mark Halperin had to say yesterday.
But as for 28, I have backed way off my belief that the vice president's a lock for the nomination and that the president will endorse him. I still think if the president endorses him, he is a lock, and I still think that's the most likely outcome. But between a lot of donors, very prominent donors in the party saying, we don't want a coronation. We don't want a coronation. We think this should be competitive. Then some people questioning JD's political instincts on a variety of topics. In the last few months where he's done some things that have been controversial, including related to some of these feuds within the party. And then finally, Ted Cruz and others potentially making it clear that they're going to run. They're not waiting to see who Trump endorses. All that makes me think maybe this is up for grabs. And if it is, then what does Turning Point do? Do they get involved in the nomination fight? They'd be extremely powerful potentially in Iowa, even in a weakened state. So I think it's all up for grabs.
So he's saying there that it's not going to be a coronation for J.D. Vance in 2028. And first off, there should be no coronation in any primary. I mean, if you're a Republican voter and you just knock the Democrats for basically coronating Kamala Harris after Biden drops out and then being like, we must coronate J.D. Vance. I love J.D. Vance. I think he's great. But, I'm not all about a coronation either. But it was 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now, that I just happened to be having a conversation with somebody who has run presidential campaigns, very prominent presidential campaigns. And this person said to me, he goes, I was like, what's your read? I know it's really early. And I haven't told this story yet because there's been no reason to. But then I saw Halperin say what he said yesterday. So what's your read on 28? And he goes, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a, full-blown primary. There will be no coronation. And I said, even if Trump endorses? He said, yeah, I believe that, even if Trump endorses. I said, why? He said, well, you've got about 30 to 40% of Republicans who say they're Trump Republicans is how they would describe themselves. But you have a lot of people who are, yes, Trump voters, but they may not identify themselves as like officially Trump Republicans. So you have a lot of lanes for a lot of different people to get themselves into the arena ahead of 2028. He said he knew for a fact there will be very prominent people who are going to run. And while obviously Trump endorsing J.D. Vance would be a huge deal and would obviously be something that would go a long way in 2028, unless, you've got another 10, 15 person primary, this thing could very much still be up for grabs because by and large, data shows too that voters don't really like to be told who to vote for. They don't. It's just human. It's American nature, right? Not just human nature. It's certainly an American nature to not be told, hey, this person says vote for this person, I'm going to do it. So it is absolutely going to be up for grabs. And as much as I like JD and think he'd be a great nominee, I don't want to hand anything to anybody. I mean, make them earn it as far as I'm concerned. And now you got Halperin talking to some of the big donors out there who are basically confirming that. But I can tell you through somebody who has run presidential campaigns, they believe that it is going to be a very, not just wide open race potentially, but a lot of people are going to be getting in come, probably 18 months from now. I mean, it's not that far off when you really think about it. Coming up next, it's not far off? Tirade Tuesday. It's like 4 minutes away. Whatever you want to rant about, whatever you want to get off your chest, now is the time to do it. Phones are open. 913-408-7957. Tirade Tuesday. It's your chance to let it rip next.
from Overland Park to Parkville. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
It is 8:34 on a Tuesday morning, and that means it's your time of the week.
It's time for Tirade Tuesday on 95.7 FM, KCMO.
How dare you?
All right, Tirade Tuesday. Whatever you got to get off your chest before you get to the office, now is your chance to do it. And, of course, if you're at the office by now, you can stream us at kcmotalkradio.com. Let's start off. We got a lot of options here. All right, Leland in Pleasant Hill. Let's go, Leland. What do you got for me, big man?
My concern is why everybody thinks it's terrible to be prejudiced against black people or brown people, but it's just fine to be prejudiced against Jews. It don't make there's no sense. You shouldn't be prejudiced against anybody.
I would agree with that. I think that is an excellent point there, Leland. You should not be prejudiced against anybody. But you know what? It's an interesting point that you bring up because there are people out there who would say, hey, prejudice against, let's say, a black person is obviously bad, but they justify it when it comes to the Jews. And the reason they do it with the Jews is because they're of this mindset that, like, well, the Jews control everything and the banks and the politicians, and therefore we justify being discriminatory against them or something ridiculous like that. But you're right. I mean, anyone picking and choosing discrimination against certain groups and then trying to justify it is terrible. So that's an excellent point. Libby and Waldo, go ahead on Tirade Tuesday. What do you got?
Hey there, Pete. I'm going to kind of dovetail on what that first caller did. I woke up this morning when I heard all these news. I am so fed up. I'm so sick of hearing anti-Semitic this and anti-Semitic that. I am not understanding any of it. And I'm wondering if anybody out there has a suggestion, including yourself, Pete, or John, or anybody. Is there any book out there, a really well-documented book or anything that would explain the roots of all of this? Why does it? I don't understand it, and it just is pissing me off because it seems like we are tolerating it rather than doing anything about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, listen, we're not tolerating it, but you're right. There are many in the West who are tolerating it. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I'm going to let Tirade Tuesday continue to roll along there, Libby. I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Just real quick on what I believe the why is behind it. I mean, I mentioned some of the why just there to the last caller. But, I think there's this mindset of many in the West who are of a more liberal mindset that, well, we can all live in peace. And if we just ingratiate ourselves to this idea of the pro-Palestinian cause and, we play nice with people who are clearly extremists, well, they'll be nice to us too. And we learned that the hard way over the last 25 years. I mean, going back to 9/11. Right? It does not work. So there's a lot of reasons for it, but I don't want to let that get in the way of Tirade Tuesday. 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957. The phone lines are open for you on a Tirade Tuesday. Let's go to Lenexa. Travis, go ahead.
Pete, I'm sick of the personal shoppers at Walmart. The big carts that they push around and go shopping for people. They're always putting those carts right in the way. I just want the mac and cheese at the bottom shelf, and they're standing there shopping for other people, staring at me as I'm waiting for them to move. This is Walmart's equivalent of public transportation. It's always stopping randomly, getting in the way, honking the horn. And while I'm at it, I'm also sick there at the Target close to where you and Mark live there in Olathe. I'm tired of the quarter mile of the pickup parking that's always empty. I park there now.
You park in the spots that are for curbside pickup and then you walk into the store?
Yes. I'm there to pick up. I walk in, I pick up what I need, and then I leave.
Oh,
that's me, brother. You don't
man.
shop, you go get.
Oh, man, that is taboo. That's, I think, less of you today, Travis. That's weak, brother. Get your steps in, okay?
It's okay, Pete. What I really need is the 95.7 sticker where we have our own reserve parking.
Yeah, I'm not letting you put a 95.7 FM sticker on your car if you're going to be parking in the curbside pickup and walking into the Target. No way, no how. Thank you, Travis. No way.
It's a quarter mile long.
Oh, come on. Get your steps in. You know, I'll tell you this. This is something that Dayton Moore told me, former Royals general manager, of course, and you know, great guy all around, still deep ties here in Kansas City. He once told me this. He said, you know, I judge... Not judge. Well, I guess whatever. I'm kind of I measure somebody by where they park. He goes, you know, if you're a single guy by yourself, don't have the kids, and you know, you're at a shopping center and you're like waiting for that first spot in the front of the line. It's like, dude, just go find a spot and walk in, okay? Save that for the old lady who doesn't quite have the handicap pass yet. Save it for the wife or the mom with 3 little kids she's trying to drag into the store. If you're just a dude by yourself, just find a parking spot. It doesn't need to be the first one. Don't be fighting over it and just walk into the store. Okay? It's good for your health too.
And you waste more time trying to find a closer spot.
I agree. So, Travis, you thought you were getting a bumper sticker, buddy? Fat chance, okay? Not with moves like that, as much as I love you. 913-408-7957. Phones are open on a Tirade Tuesday here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Let's go to Warren in Kansas City. Go ahead, Warren. What's your tirade?
Hey, good morning, Pete. Enjoy your program. December the 2nd, I wrote out a check to the Kansas City, Missouri Water Department, took it to the post office, put it in a priority envelope, left it with the postal employee. My check cleared yesterday, the 16th. Not bad, 14 days, huh?
So when did you put it in the mail? The 2nd?
I put it in priority mail December the 2nd, and the check cleared on the 16th.
I thought you said the 7th. The 2nd? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And then I wrote my check out to the Jackson County Collector of Personal Property. That check cleared in 3 days.
How about that?
That's interesting. I mean, maybe you could blame the water department. I don't know. Maybe they just sat on your check for a while. But either way, that's a bad look for everybody involved.
Well, I think in the water department, it just attributed to a slow leak.
Yeah. Well done there, Warren. Well done.
Yeah. Hey, have a quality day and Merry Christmas, guys.
You too, brother. You too. You know, we're sending out, Kate's working on the Christmas cards today that we're sending out. So hopefully they'll be there by New Year's. I mean, at the way that the post office is operating, but, you know, we'll see. I knew it was going to be a little tight, but we'll get to see how it plays out. 913-408-7957. Tirade Tuesday goes to Parkville. Victor, what's up, buddy?
Good morning, Pete. Yeah, well, first, good luck trying to find the root cause of anti-Semitism. They've been working on that for a couple thousand years. You know, my whole thing, my tirade is against a stupid frickin' text from the president about Rob Reiner. You know, there's so much to complain about, yet something this stupid sucks the air right out of all the room. I said it before when he was running, just be presidential, you know, with your talking and now with your texting. This is the kind of crap that's going to stain his legacy. I wish he would just knock it off and do his job.
Thank you very much there, Victor in Parkville, preaching to the choir. The president posting about Rob Reiner, in case you did not see this yesterday, it was right around this time when the president posted about Rob Reiner the following. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump with obvious paranoia, reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Yeah, I mean, that's disgusting. The insinuation that Rob Reiner caused his son to basically kill him, which is what the allegation is here in this post. He says that Reiner, a tortured and struggling movie director and comedy star, passed away due to the anger he caused others. The implication in the post is that Rob's TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, somehow rubbed off on his mentally ill son that caused his son to then kill his father and his mother. That is absolutely nuts. And yeah, every time I read it, like Victor, I get more pissed off because the guy just died in one of the most evil ways imaginable at the hands of a child that you birth and raise and love and care for. And did Rob Reiner hate Trump? Yeah, he did. That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what, for all the people who are like, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, oh my gosh, look at how people are reacting. And then to be like, yeah, but Rob Reiner was really mean. There's no yeah, but here. We're not them. That's the point, right? And Victor's absolutely right. You want to talk about just, getting in your own way and giving the media an absolutely gift of a news cycle here for the next couple of days? Man, you know what we should be talking about? We should be talking about the anti-Semitism that's on display allegedly at Brown University, what happened in Australia, in parts of Europe. Hanukkah's underway. Anti-Semitism is on the rise again. And instead, the media basically says, nope, here's our gold mine. Let's go.
Made it too easy for him, for sure.
Way too easy. I mean, just put it right on a platter. Coming up, speaking of Brown, where is the investigation? They still don't have anybody arrested the fourth day since the shooting at Brown University. Where is that investigation at? Where's the manhunt at? What do we know? We'll share next.
On Tuesday's Guy Benson Show, U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri is here on the very latest from Capitol Hill. Coming up at 2 o'clock on 95.7 KCMO.
So day 4 of this manhunt for the school shooter at Brown University, and it's amazing the incompetency that's been on display from local authorities in Providence, Rhode Island, to those university leaders. I mean, this is as prestigious a university as obviously you can find. They got an endowment in the billions of dollars, Ivy League. I mean, the whole deal, right? It doesn't get more prestigious than Brown. And I'm not saying that the people in charge of the university should know how to investigate any of this, but you combine and stack up local authorities with Brown, with the people in charge, and those who have been the face of this operation thus far, and it has been an embarrassment. So they do not have anybody. They had someone in custody early on after the shooting, and then they released him. Authorities are still hunting for the perpetrator of this mass shooting at Brown, and they have released some photos and videos of a person that was taken about 2 p.m. on Saturday, hours before the attack. The suspect is approximately 5'8" with a stocky build, and there's a $50,000 reward leading to an arrest and a conviction. A 5'8" stocky dude in America in 2025, that should narrow it down to a couple 100 million people. I mean, that is just trying to find a needle in a haystack at this point. They don't know where this guy is. And then you've got these authorities going on camera and talking to the press. And, I mean, listen to this. Listen to these mayors, these police chiefs talk about this in Providence. They don't have any answers.
President Donald Trump has said that Brown University is to blame for this shooting and saying it's the school's problem. Is that a fair criticism, or do you disagree with what the president said?
I don't think it's fair criticism.
Colonel, can you expand on that?
Why not? Because Brown University is not collaborating with you guys. You're lying to the press over here. They have facial recognition. We know that because they follow the students, they follow everybody in the neighborhood. Facial recognition. They need to release that data. So everybody know who the guy is in video. We got the video Saturday. Why you guys release the video today? I think that answers the question.
Listen, Colonel, I have just a question.
John, please, just for a second. A couple things. First of all, Brown University and Brown Public Safety, Brown Police Department has been a close collaborator throughout this process. That's not true. I do not accept that criticism. Oh, come on. We know that. Secondly, everyone you see behind us, we've all been working for now 49 hours. We're tired.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, we're tired. We've been working for 49 hours. We don't usually work 49 hours in a month. We're exhausted. You have 2 students who are dead, 9 others who are injured. 8 of those 9 are in the hospital. And now you want to pull out the sympathy card as the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island?
One thing they like to tell you, like Panasonic last Friday,
yeah.
Okay, this is contained. This isn't a threat to the rest of the community. Right now, you can't say that.
They can't say it.
On top of all of that.
You're absolutely right. You can't say it. Now, there's another angle of this, of course, that there's a belief local authorities and Brown wants to avoid talking about. So, according to multiple media outlets who have quoted students and other witnesses, they have said the shooter yelled, Allah Akbar. Of course, that's Arabic for God is the greatest, right? Before he opened up fire in the building. Local authorities are not confirming that or denying that. They're just not talking about it. Local media asked yesterday, hey, what's the deal, guys?
The report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Could you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it's part of the investigation, John, and
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
That's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute. With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful for us to identify somebody, we'll be the first ones to put it out.
All right. Why, if you have that information and you have witnesses and students who are saying, yes, before this individual opened up fire, he was screaming Allah Akbar, why would you not put that out there? Who are you protecting and what are you trying to hide here? You don't have anybody in custody. Get everything out there that you possibly can. Let the public help you. It's not about creating some environment of some anti-Muslim environment, but you know what? That's pretty important information. Weekend of starting off Hanukkah, guy walks into a room, the professor's Jewish, and he starts yelling Allah Akbar as he opens up fire. I mean, that starts to connect some dots, does it not? It's just a horrible way they've handled this. Coming up next, the mayor of Independence on their water issues next. All right. Well, as you may have seen last night, a boil water advisory was in effect for Independence through this morning. And this ties to obviously some issues that they were having with a water treatment plant. Rory Rowland is the mayor of Independence. He's joining us on KCMO. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being here. Where do things stand right now as we hit the 9 o'clock hour?
Good morning, Mr. Mundo. It is great to see you and great to talk to you this morning. As we speak, I believe we're still under the advisory order. That'll probably be released sometime. It's typically once you turn the system on, you're on that for about 24 hours. I have not heard that any of the tests have come back positive with any contaminants in the system. And I would suspect since the pressure stayed up that there wouldn't be any contaminants in the system. That's my supposition. That is not from city staff. So that's what I'm supposing. And I think it will be safe at that point. And then we turned the system on. I don't know if you watched the city council meeting last night, but interim city manager Lisa Reynolds gave us an update right at the beginning of the meeting about what had occurred. We had a power outage at the Courtney Bend treatment plant early yesterday morning. And, you troubleshoot those things and you hope that, in fact, they get fixed quickly. And it was more complicated than we had expected, and it took longer than we expected. So they finally got the switch flipped back on where they had power to the system. And then, of course, it takes a while to turn the system on because you've got all this pressure. You don't want to overwhelm the system and then obviously pop pipes somewhere along the system. You've got to kind of turn it on slowly and do that. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of the update that I have at this point.
So what's the best way? I don't know if the interim city manager addressed this last night, but having some kind of a backup system in place. So if something like this were to happen again, the water is not unusable across Independence. Did that come up last night?
It didn't come up in the meeting last night, but under discussions with the interim city manager, what had happened is in the off season, you do maintenance, and we had one of the pumps that was down for maintenance. And so we would typically, in a scenario like that, just flip over to that one.
Got it.
As I understand it, that one was down. So it was one of those scenarios where, perfect storm. You don't have everything lined up for you. So because you don't want to do maintenance on water systems in the peak of summer when people are watering their lawns and things like that, then you plan those things at this time of the year so that with the anticipation that you won't have an issue like this. We did, and here we are. But the good thing is there was no boil order, and there doesn't seem to be one so far put into place. And we should get the all clear, I would suspect, within the next 18 to 24 hours.
Okay, so people have to keep boiling that water potentially for another 18 to 24 hours.
Yeah, it's an advisory. We haven't had any test where we've seen, as of last night, we didn't have any test where we had any contaminants in the system at that point. They just have to turn the system on slowly so that we don't overwhelm, because Kansas City was kind enough to interconnect with us to keep our pressure up. So they shared water with us. And you've got to then kind of, when you turn the system back on, turn it on slowly so you don't overwhelm their system and then backflow into their system and cause them to go into boiler advisory at the same time.
Okay.
So it's a pretty complex system, and you want to be kind to your neighbors who help you out in that time of need.
Do the schools and the courts and everything else, they've got what they need today to operate fully?
Yes, the schools went back into school today. The courts are back in session today. So everything should be up and running today. I turned on water, I drank it, and everything looked good. So I think we're up and running and just waiting to the system to stabilize, get our final test so that we can then go off of the boil advisory.
Okay. And then handling in the wake of it yesterday, I did hear some criticism across Independence of folks saying, hey, it felt like leadership in Independence didn't get out in front of this thing well enough yesterday. How would you respond to any criticism on that front?
That's a fair question. What we're going to do as a council, we talked about that. We're going to go, kind of do a game plan analysis of it, go back and kind of watch. They would like you would watch film in an NFL game. We're going to go back and say, okay, what happened here? What occurred there? My suspicion is this, in looking at it, is it's a complex scenario, and you don't want to pull the ripcord at 6:30 when you don't know the extent of the outage, because then if you call that, then you call school, and then in fact it was a 15-minute fix. You go back in and you call school when you in fact have water back on. So it's almost a darned if you do, darned if you don't scenario. We'll look at that and see that situation, but that's a great question. It's a question that many of my council members expressed to me during the process. We're certainly going to talk about that and look at that and see which is the best way for us to do an analysis on how that occurred and what's the best way to make sure that we notify folks in the future. And just the question of, can we get, the emails of we don't have all the emails of our water customers, so that if something like that occurred, we could do that, or maybe the text messages of our water customers, so that we could send them text messages and emails. And so this is an opportunity for us to look at those systems, start to ask for that data, collect that data, and then if something like that happens. But one of the things that's important to kind of look at in this regard is, our system has been very, very productive for over 40 years that I've lived in Independence. My wife and I moved there in 81. And if I'm correct, and this is going off of my memory and not anything from the facts from staff or anything like that, but we've only had 2 boil advisories that I know of in my lifetime and never had a boil order. So it's been a really safe and productive system. So, we've been, knock on wood, and hopefully we continue to have that. But it's a question of, just making sure it works and making sure that we as city leaders go back and game plan and say, okay, what occurred? How can we get better? And what did we learn from this? And certainly, we hate to see this happen for schools and courts to be out of session. That's not what we want. We want to provide a service that you never think about city government. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That everything works, and you never think about city government, and it just works.
Rory Rowland, the mayor of Independence on KCMO. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate the time, and we will talk to you soon.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. There you go. So the boil water advisory is still in effect for Independence. The website just noting here, and you just heard this from the mayor, water pressure should be back to normal across eastern Jackson County and Lafayette County. At about 11:30 last night, they began receiving Independence water. All water is now being pumped from the Courtney Bend Water Treatment Plant. Water samples have been collected at 16 sites across Independence, and they have not had any negative tests thus far. But you did hear from the mayor. He's drinking the water, so I'll check in on him tonight. I'll send him a text at about 6 p.m., make sure he doesn't have the runs or something like that.
Well, and hopefully he's not going swimming with the Paris mayor in the Seine River at the Olympic time there.
It's
Seems
so
a little
true.
dangerous.
Yeah, well, as someone who's got 3 little kids, but the younger 2 like to take their bath together and then occasionally drink their bath water, which it just drives me nuts. There's not much that grosses me out when you've got 3 little kids, but still, when they're drinking each other's bath water, I'm just like, oh my God. I just have to look away and just be like, stop, please, and tell me when you're done spitting out each other's bath water. It's disgusting. Don't let your kids drink the bathwater in Independence this morning, okay? That's all I've got for you. Let the mayor drink the water, and we'll report back at about 6 p.m. tonight and see how he's feeling. And he used the Chiefs analogy there. They're going to review the tape. Hopefully, they review the tape more effectively than the Chiefs have this season. I'll just say that, all right? That's all I've got.
You turn on your faucet, it drips, and you go, hey, I didn't get an email. You know when you know, right?
Yes.
And at that point, it's already too late.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, so we all know that health insurance costs are going up. We go back to one of our local municipalities where you have retirees complaining about their costs. And I'm sorry, I can't sit here and say I've got a ton of sympathy on this. As I said 4 weeks ago, but the story's back to the forefront this morning. We'll tell you who and where coming up next.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
We know that millions of Americans, including many in the Kansas City area, are going to see their health insurance costs increase. And if you are on the Affordable Care Act plan, a.k.a. Obamacare, you're going to see probably a pretty big uptick. And part of that is because the Obamacare subsidies are going away at the end of the year. These subsidies have been in place since COVID. They were set to expire. The GOP is allowing them to expire as they should. But obviously what's happening now is their political opponents are saying, oh my gosh, look at the health insurance costs going up for tens of millions of Americans, and we need to subsidize this. What, with taxpayer money? No, you don't. You got to find a better plan. There's nothing about the Affordable Care Act that is affordable anymore. So this is impacting the private sector, the public sector. The whole industry's an absolute utter mess right now. It is as broken as any major industry in this country. So what you're seeing now, too, is increases in health insurance costs for a lot of folks who are, let's say, retirees with the Olathe Fire Department. And Channel 41 highlighted this yesterday. Now, this goes back a month ago. You may recall there was a guy named Todd Hart, retired captain with the Olathe Police Department, and he went on TV and was bemoaning the fact that his health insurance is going up. I had him on the show. He's a great guy. He came in the studio. He defended himself. He said some of these things were taken out of context because his point was that he had been warning the city of Olathe for years about how eventually they were going to have to spend a lot more money on the retirees' health insurance. If not, there was going to be a major uptick. And they didn't do anything about it. They kicked the can down the road. That was his allegation and his insinuation here on the show. And I'll take him at his word. But I'm having a hard time, to be honest, in a world where a lot of regular folks in the private sector are struggling right now with their costs, to listen to retired public employees say, well, woe is me. Here's 41's coverage of the story out of Olathe.
As we've been sharing with you in recent weeks, the cost of health care could soon spike for millions as subsidies making insurance through the Affordable Care Act more affordable expire.
Hold on, stop that right there. Subsidies, listen to how that gets read by the 41 anchor. Subsidies that make the Affordable Care Act more affordable are set to expire, meaning it's not affordable. If you need to subsidies are not just things that like fall out of the sky. Subsidies is your taxpayer dollars, or I guess really, our kids and grandkids' taxpayer dollars, because we're $38 trillion in debt and the debt's increasing every single day. But you get the point. Subsidies are not just things that magically appear from the government. They're not like candy. It means it's your money, our money, that is being spent to subsidize a system that is so broken it doesn't live up to its name of the Affordable Care Act without the government subsidizing it to make it affordable. But the intro there for 41, I'm watching this and I'm like, all right, don't throw something at the TV. You got a nice TV. Don't pull a John Anthony and start yelling at the TV. I don't want to be there yet in my life. So I just kind of deep breath and let the story breathe a little bit, John. That's what I did last night. I didn't want to channel my inner you.
Yeah, I'm going to get an EV. I can afford a Prius, but I want a Tesla, so who's going to help me out here, right?
Where's your subsidy, man?
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. Let's continue here. Channel 41.
This impacts about 22 million Americans now facing tough financial decisions and how they'll afford their health care. Some could not wait for the federal government to act. This is Gary Nickerson, a retired Olathe firefighter. He faced choosing that ACA coverage or coverage from the city of Olathe that also saw costs spike. We've heard from him before when another retiree reached out to us to get answers on why the cost of coverage through the city was so high.
Our Johnson County reporter Elise Schoenig has been following through on this story that she first uncovered weeks ago. Elise, Gary just reached back out to you recently about his plan, right?
Yeah, right, Caitlin. And Gary called it a no-win situation. So he's now scaling back on his health care coverage. The higher deductible plan that he chose to go with is not ideal, but he says he couldn't count on Congress.
These mementos help Gary Nickerson look back. He spent 3 decades as an Olathe firefighter.
I basically have lost trust in the city that I grew up in.
completely.
I first met Gary in November.
We just got notified about a month ago. My personally is going for a single person from $183 roughly to $1,000
Per month.
per month.
And he wasn't alone in his concerns.
This is absolutely ridiculous. This is not sustainable.
With ACA subsidies in limbo, Gary says he reluctantly chose a different plan offered by Olathe. He says he couldn't count on the federal government to decide in time.
The whole government of the United States shut down over 100% increase, and we were seeing 200, 400, 600% increases.
Okay, so then what's the, like, with all due respect, the bitching and the moaning, what do you want? Do you want the Olathe taxpayer to pick up your health insurance bill? Because I'm done with that. I'm not doing that. I got my own bills. I got 3 kids. I guess you can be mad at the government if you want, but you know what? I'm sorry. There are pensions involved here, and I'm all about, listen, especially when it comes to cops, first responders, throw in fire, and yes, even teachers to some extent, although I think that people in the administrative level, I mean, these pensions are out of control. But you throw a little bit of coin to these individuals, especially those who risk their lives, or maybe they make a little less money over the life of their career to get a pension on the back end. I'm okay with that to a certain degree. I don't think it's entirely black and white. But having this local news piece on 41 last night basically just be a complain fest about how your health insurance is going up. Well, gosh, look at our property tax bills. Look at our health insurance costs. No one's doing stories on that, and no one should, because we're all in the same boat on a lot of these things, okay? The cost of everything has gone up, and you know what? The government is a big reason this has happened. The government being involved in all this is a big reason we find ourselves in this position to begin with. From the local level, in the way that local governments have mismanaged these pensions by and large and mismanaged the spending in the schools and things like that, that's led to property tax increases, to obviously the federal level, where the more they get involved in anything, the more the costs of those things, like health insurance, increase. That's what's going on here.
It does affect everybody, like you say. But the difference between you and the guys on TV is you have self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know what's coming out of your mouth as you say it.
I mean, it's so out of touch, man. It's so out of touch from these guys.
I have sympathy for no one my age or older complaining.
Mm-hmm.
You've had plenty of time to prepare at this point in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly right. And I'm not here to tell somebody else what to do with their time. But if you are able-bodied and you're not like 85 years old, you know how many people I know work in multiple jobs, including myself? And, there's a lot of things I've got going on here, a lot of hats I'm wearing, because that's what you do. You sack up, you put on your big boy pants, and you do what you got to do, and you stop saying, well, the government's not taking care of me enough, which means the taxpayer, in your eyes, is not taking care of you enough. And you know what? I'm done with that. News next, caller of the day coming up.
from Smithville to Shawnee Mission. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, just before we get to our caller of the day here, real quick, this is starting to pop in the last hour or so. You're going to see this throughout the day on social media and on cable news and elsewhere. And these are quotes from Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, that were published in a piece in Vanity Fair. And some of the headline quotes here that you will see get a lot of attention is that Susie Wiles said that President Trump has an alcoholic's personality, called J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist, and concluded that Pam Bondi, the attorney general, completely whiffed the early handling of the Epstein files. Now, Susie Wiles has put out a statement here saying the article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. I'll take Susie Wiles at her word. I think she's doing a great job as far as I can tell as the chief of staff. What I will not understand, though, is why these people do these interviews.
That was a good first question.
Why do you guys sit down with Vanity Fair and then wonder why they screwed you? It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
It's the whole left weak shtick thing of the Biden White House was pandemonium, right? So they're just anxious to go out and try to, cover that, if you will, by saying that this was even worse or some such thing. It's always this whataboutism.
You're right. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, I get it. Everybody's ego is like, oh, wow, Vanity Fair wants to do a feature piece on me. Woo, that sounds good.
How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, how do you think Vanity Fair is going to treat you? And now you've got the New York Times picking up on it, and, the whole thing is going to spiral out of control. It's just like, oh, man, that's what just kills me about this. It's like you literally coined the phrase, and I mean President Trump coined the phrase fake news, yet you still occasionally fall for giving these people an interview, and then you're shocked when they twist your words and make you look like garbage and create chaos in your own White House. It's like, I could have told you, anyone, it's not me. I could have had callers. I mean, Victor in Parkville could have told you this thing would have spiraled out of control in 5 minutes.
Well, we got a story here, but meanwhile in Providence and meanwhile in Australia, right?
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. All right, our caller of the day talked about this early this morning. I've got the back of KCPD, right? I mean, we do a Back the Blue tour. KCPD has been under attack by local government officials, its own city council, Kansas City Star, so many others for the last really 5 years. It's calmed down a hair, but it was obviously at its apex in 2020 when cops around the country were under attack. And it was gross and it was wrong. So I've got the back of KCPD. That being said, today is the Board of Police Commissioners meeting, the annual or monthly meeting that happens, and it's their last meeting of the year. It's happening right now, actually. And they are set to discuss the police department requesting $417 million for fiscal year 2026-2027. Now, this would be about a $50 million increase over last year. They're looking for another 20% increase over last year. In 23-24, the city operated with a $285 million budget for the police department. And now we're basically looking at a 50% increase in KCPD funding from just 3 years ago. I've got the backs of the KCPD men and women, but that's a big ask. That's a really big ask. Now, you can be pro-cop, but also be like, listen, guys, a 50% increase in your budget in 3 years, you better have a damn good reason for why you need it. And I talked to some people last night, and some of the things they've said the increase is for is things like pension increases that the city didn't take care of years ago. Okay, I understand that. There's lawsuit settlements that are obviously in there as well. They've had millions of dollars in lawsuit settlements. and they kicked the can down the road on that. They're trying to put it in next year's budget. There's health insurance increases, $7.5 million there. There's also an extra pay period next year as well. That costs a few $1 million because, you've got, I guess if they're paid every other Friday, there's a 27th pay period in there. And there's also workers' comp increases. Like, I get that, okay? But still, $50 million bucks? That doesn't add up to the $50 million. And from what I gathered in talking to people who know this budget, there are no raises for the men and women in law enforcement. So it's just a big ask right now at a time when city government's getting its clock cleaned. It doesn't mean that Kansas City does not waste money elsewhere. They waste plenty of money. Trust me, they do. Just like most major American cities do in their budget. But it doesn't mean we should not also be vigilant when it comes to the budget of the police department. And here is our caller of the day on KCMO.
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Let's go to a caller who wants to remain anonymous south of the metro. Go ahead.
Hey, Pete. I'm a city councilman from a small town of less than 10,000, about 30 minutes south of Kansas City. We went through our budget process this summer. We're on the Kansas side of the state line to get a little bit of background. Our police department came in wanting almost a 20% salary increase for 26, and that was before the benefits that were going to go up almost 20% as well. So it's going on everywhere. I'm not sure what the solution is. I know there's some large towns or large cities in Johnson County that are sort of driving this, it seems, because it seems to be a constant arms race for who can pay officers the most to keep them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we really have a problem. That's interesting, and I appreciate that. We really have a problem, to your point, where we don't have enough people who want to be cops. And frankly, 2020 probably set us back a generation on people wanting to be in law enforcement. So you have a supply and demand issue where you have more jobs available for people to be cops than you have people who want to get into the job. So it does create this arms race where cops say, hey, if I want to leave KCPD, I'll go to Overland Park. I'll go to Lee Summit. I'll go to wherever you're at down south. And that obviously does create this arms race. But for KCPD, at least as I understand it, in this 20% hike, it's not even for raises for members. It's just for things that I'm not even clear on right now.
Yeah, I can't speak to Kansas City, Missouri. I know, like I said, we had our own sort of issues, and I agree the 2020 thing definitely set us back. I know our department's under 20 officers, and we've been 2 officers short for at least 2 or 3 years now, just because we can't find anybody.
Wow. And I got to imagine, it's a pretty good gig being an officer down there. You guys probably get, or they probably get attaboys and things like that when they go around town, and they don't deal with some of the nonsense that KCPD probably deals with, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a small town. We're on a major highway, but that doesn't create the urban problems or the suburban problems that some of the larger municipalities have.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for the check-in on that. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Pete. Have a good day.
All right, there's our caller of the day. I can't give him a shout-out. He wanted to remain anonymous as a city councilman south of the metro, but there you go, and it makes all the sense in the world. 913-408-7957. The text line and the studio line. On the text line, we've got this. Pete, are you forgetting about the World Cup coming? They're going to need a lot of officers, and they're going to be giving a lot of time, which means a lot of overtime. Okay, well, if KCPD wants to get ahead of this and they want to make sure that they get support from myself and taxpayers as well, then come out and say a bulk of this is going to be for overtime to pay officers for the World Cup. If that's the case, then that's something that will cut in their favor. But also then you're going to be asking the politicians, wait, hold on a second. I thought this was going to be just all roses, going to be fantastic, not going to cost us anything. We're going to make a ton of money. Now we're talking about millions of dollars in overtime, which makes sense, but just tell us how much you're budgeting for then and what exactly that looks like and where those costs are going to come from. Who's paying for it? You got a $100 million hole, which was a report a few weeks ago when it comes to KCMO. That's a major problem. And I was talking to somebody who was very much entrenched in Kansas City government last week. And he said to me, Pete, he said, all these cities got a lifeline during COVID, right? We gave all this COVID money to cities and states, and they basically were able to balance their books. And then they did some really dumb things. And now they're having to basically tighten the belt buckle, and there is no lifeline coming. There isn't. They've got to wise up. They've got to get the house in order. They have no choice right now. It's not just Kansas City. It's most major American cities. A lot of them were on the verge of bankruptcy just a few years ago, and COVID saved them. Think about that. COVID saved major American cities fiscally around the country. But then they made the same old foolish mistakes, in many cases sometimes worse, to meet the woke moment we were living in, and now the bills have to be paid. Good luck.
I'm wondering if they're still paying the COVID trackers. Remember that? You could volunteer to track people.
Yeah.
Make sure they maintain their distance.
Yeah.
Maybe we got one of those payroll glitches like Office Space, and somebody's just raking in money here for the last 5 years.
Where's Rex Archer? Where is he?
Yeah.
Anyone seen Sexy
He took
Rexy?
off for warmer climes, I believe.
I think so as well.
It's been a couple weeks since Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know.
Thanksgiving. Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, my Thanksgiving was destroyed with pneumonia. Thank you, Rex. I appreciate that. Pete, is that your first anonymous caller of the day? I think so. I don't have a running tally, but I got to imagine.
Yeah.
That's our first anonymous caller of the day. No doubt about it.
Although caller ID is my friend.
John knows who everybody is. 913-408-7957. We'll wrap it up before Keatsman Uncanceled takes over at 10 o'clock on 95.7 FM KCMO.
from Lenexa to Lee Summit. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Ten minutes to go until Keats been uncanceled. We've got Mike in Independence. Mike, good morning. You're on KCMO. I know you've been following this story in Independence where there has been a boil water advisory in place since yesterday. The mayor tells us earlier in the hour that it's probably going to go on for another 18 to 24 hours. What do you know?
Well, I'm sure it's going to be at least that long. My biggest concern was the lack of communication with the public out here, the residents. This event happened around 5 o'clock. So you figure after an hour or two that, we'd probably reach out, get a ribbon on the TV or the radios, even a special thing. I mean, people are drinking this water. Who knows? That was one of my concerns. And then, he said something about been in business for 40 years and only had one boil order, which, I'm kind of the proactive type instead of the reactive type. But then I was thinking about that. We have a system set up at Independence Power and Light that contacts all of our residents via by phone, because a lot of the elderly do not have emails and all this stuff. So a nice little blurb phone call to the residents here would have sure kind of lightened up things. I mean, most people didn't even know about it until 11 o'clock. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike. I mean, I totally agree. That is something. And the mayor admitted they did not handle the information rollout very well at all. Roy Rowland admitted that an hour ago on the show. So he said they're going to do what basically the Chiefs do, go back, review the tape, see what they can do better. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to get a hold of people much more quickly than they did. And there has to be a coordinated effort to get the word out. And it did not seem like there was last night in Independence. So absolutely, that's a fair criticism there. And even the mayor admitted that was a fair criticism when he was on the show. So you're right about that. All right, speaking of criticism, new report here this morning. The White House is furious at Josh Hawley. Dun, dun, dun. President Trump's inner circle is reportedly fuming at Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley for starting a new anti-abortion dark money group with his wife in an effort to reignite political discourse on the issue of abortion. Hawley hopes the group, called Love Life Initiative, will be a strong voice advocating for life. Trump's team begs to differ. An anonymous advisor told Axios, quote, "Clearly, Senator Hawley and his political team learned nothing from 2022 and the elections when the Supreme Court abortion ruling that reversed Roe v. Wade resuscitated the Democrats in the midterms." They went on to argue that they see this as positive economic, that what they see as positive economic growth should be the theme for the midterms instead of picking a fight on the issue like abortion in a midterm, which this person called the height of asinine stupidity. Wow. The rift also comes amid month-long rumors of Hawley's potential presidential aspirations in 2028, as he could challenge Vice President J.D. Vance to rip the GOP away from the MAGA wing post-Trump. Well, I've said for a long time, I believe that Josh Hawley is going to run in 2028. Now, it's not going to be just Josh Hawley and J.D. Vance. There's going to be a lot of people. I believe Ted Cruz is going to run. I think Ron DeSantis could take another stab at it, the Florida governor. It will not be just a couple of people. I promise you that much. But Josh Hawley is clearly trying to find his lane. And that lane is very much pro-life, which I totally agree with him on. But it also is very much in some ways kind of big government-ish because he finds himself in agreement with Bernie Sanders sometimes, which is kind of odd. Hawley was actually one of the couple of Republicans that voted to extend the Obamacare subsidies when that vote went to the Senate last week. So he's trying to figure out what exactly his lane is going to be to differentiate himself from the field. and pro-life is going to be part of it. But Trump's team just doesn't want that issue to be a part of the midterm conversation, and they're not wrong there either. It's really a state issue right now anyway. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, that's it for us. Keatsman Uncanceled is coming up next. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.